Hello and welcome to this video lesson where we will look at change leadership as being one of the key skills that are required for digital transformation. We are in the topic of digital transformation and we are looking at what are the skills that are required, what are the capabilities that are required for helping you as a leader in this digital transformation journey. As we have seen elsewhere, there are 7 layers to the digital transformation, right? The customer experience, the culture, the business model itself, the organization structure or organization design, the processes of an organization, the infrastructure, and most importantly, the capabilities and leadership. So we're going to look at these capabilities, and one of the capabilities that you will need to develop as a digital leader is the ability to lead change, right? So that's really what we would look at. So in short, transformation is about change. Right? We got to change from the old ways of doing to new ways of doing, and again in other lessons we have already seen that everything around us is changing. So if we stay rooted to what we were earlier, we would be dead, right? So we got to change, because the outside is changing so fast and so rapidly that we are always already catching up, playing catch up, and we can't afford to stay constant and resist any change. So it is time for us to lead this change. Let me take you through a story of how learning takes place, and I will come and explain what is the relevance of that to change after I finish the story. Let's take the case of a young child who is just maybe a year old. Now when the child is just a year old, the child does not know how to do the act of cycling, right? It would be a miracle if he or she knew, right? And she's not worried about it, because all that she needs is to be kept clean, to be kept comfortable, to be kept warm, and to be fed, to be put to sleep at the right times, to be played with and all that stuff, and she knows how to get it done. Now fast forward, let's say about 3 or 4 years, when this child starts going outside and starts seeing people of her own age or a little older than her enjoying an activity called cycling. So she starts becoming aware of this thing, and she starts thinking, hey, it's unfair that others are able to do it and I'm not able to do it, and so I need to do something about it. So she will go and trouble her father and mother. They will ultimately buy her a cycle, maybe a tricycle to begin with, or a bicycle with supporting wheels, run after her. After many band-aids and tears and falls later, she will at one point in time really start learning to ride the bicycle. Now when she ride the bicycle the first time ever, no papa holding behind, no supporting wheels, she's really doing it for the first time. You can just think about what is going through her mind. She is excited about the fact that she can do it, but at the same time she will be very, very conscious about not hurting herself. So she will be conscious about how fast she is going, how much pressure she should put on the pedal, how she should be holding the handlebar, what her body posture should be, where she should be looking, when should apply the brake, when to ring the bell, when to take a turn, etc., etc. In other words, the nitty-gritties or the minute activities related with the act of cycling will be what is in her mind. She will be absolutely conscious about what she is doing. Fast forward another 6 months, ma, no hands, right? So that is the final stage where they are able to do that. At this time, the act of cycling is the last thing in her mind when she is actually doing cycling. She is singing, she is talking to somebody else, she is thinking about what mischief to do next, she is thinking about what to play next or whatever else it is, but not how to do cycling, because she knows it so well by that time already. And this is really what we call as the learning cycle, where we start from being unconscious incompetence. We don't know what we don't know, right? Unconscious, we are incompetent, but we are not conscious about it, to being consciously incompetent, where we become conscious about our incompetence. We become conscious of what we don't know. And then, of course, we reach the third stage, which is conscious competence, where we know it and we do it consciously, right? And of course, if we do that enough times, we ultimately reach a stage of unconscious competence where it will come to us naturally, right? It will become a habit. It will just keep happening by itself. Now, from the first stage to second stage, you go through awareness, right? But from the second stage to third stage, you got to really practice and practice intentionally. If you don't practice it intentionally, it doesn't come, right? From the third stage to fourth stage, again, it comes through experience, it comes through repeated practice and things like that. Unfortunately, there is no shortcut to practicing it. Without practicing, it doesn't happen. But what is also important is that to close this loop, there will be times when we need to unlearn or change the way we have done things, the way we are doing things unconsciously. We have to really unlearn that and get back into that unconscious, incompetent state so that we can start learning new things and reach the unconscious competent stage in the new things or new skills, right? So that is really also important, because if we ever believe that we have reached a stage of unconscious competence and stop there, then we don't develop further. So to complete that cycle and to keep moving forward, we got to constantly be able to unlearn, change, and start learning new things. And that is true in digital transformation, because the way we did things earlier is not the same way that we do it today. The way we booked our railway tickets is not the same way that we do it today. The way we purchase things is not the way we do it today, right? The way we listen to music last is not the same way that we do it today. The way we hailed a taxi is not the same way that we do it today. So a lot of things are changing, and we got to be able to adopt that change. Not only we personally, but we got to be able to take the organization through that change process too, right? So we will need to unlearn that whole process of changing. Now, if I ask you to change 5 things about you, let us say, right, quickly in a minute's time, what will you do, right? So what I would really like to do is to ask you to stop this video right now and change 5 things about you, and come back and restart the video when you are done. Right. If you have come back, I'm assuming that you have made those 5 changes. I want you to think about those changes that you have made, right? And unfortunately, we can't have an interaction in this during this video, but most of the times you would have either removed something from your body, right? A pen, a spectacle, a dupatta that you're wearing, or if you were brave enough and you were alone, the shirt that you were wearing, right? In all probability, you would have removed a number of things that are on your body. And if you have not done that, you would certainly have disrupted something that was there in your body, right? You would have disrupted your hair, remove the hairband, or ruffled up your hair. If you had your specs, you would have probably put it on top of your head instead of on your face, or whatever it is you would have, or put up your collar, or rolled up your sleeves, or whatever. So you would have disrupted what was there on your body. I want you to think about this. Did you think about adding something to you? Probability that you thought of adding something to you is very, very little, right? And if I actually ask you to do this multiple times, you would feel awkward. You would feel, at some point in time, you can't change anymore, isn't it? You would feel that, right? And those are the dynamics of change that you need to be aware of, those dynamics of change that you experienced when you went through this exercise. You're most likely to feel awkward, right? Especially if you are not alone, if you are in a group, if you are visible to others, others must be thinking, hey, what has gone wrong with this person, right? So you feel awkward about changing, right? You feel alone, you think that, okay, look, others don't understand, why am I doing this? And the third point is very important. You will almost always think about what can I lose, rather than think about what can I gain. You will almost always think about what can I remove from me or disrupt in me than what can I add on to me, right? I'm almost certain not very few of you, if at all, would have thought about putting on a jacket or taking a bottle and keeping on your head or whatever it is, right? You wouldn't have thought about what can I add. Most of the times the thought that comes to you is, what will I lose? What can I lose when I am asked to change? So that is a human principle. What will I lose? And then again, not all of you would have probably even tried. Some of you would have been enthusiastic. Some of you would have said, oh, what's the point? And why should I do it? So you all are at different levels of readiness of that change. If I had asked you to repeatedly do it, let's say 2 or 3 times, you would have said, look, I can't change anymore. There is nothing more that I can lose, or I don't have enough resources for this change. And then some of you would have said, look, this is enough. I can't change anymore. Stop it, right? So you would probably come to a threshold of change. And in all probability, when you came back and sat, you would have by now reverted back to what you were earlier, even though I did not ask you to, because that is the natural process. If I don't keep the pressure on, if as a leader you don't give the pressure on, people will revert back to their original state. So these are the 7 dynamics of change that I want you to remember, and this is true even in any change, and especially when you take take your organization through a change in a digital transformation journey. And so those are the 7 dynamics of change, but you also need to make this change at 4 different levels. You first got to make the change at a knowledge level. You got to know what is changing, right? And then you got to make the change at the attitude level, attitude to change. And then of course that has to ultimately result in the behavior of every individual in an organization, in a team. And when that happens, the organization itself or the community around you will go through that change and become a change agent. Unless you are able to drive change through all these 4 levels, the organization or the community being the most difficult one, the change will not be sustainable, or it will not persist, right? So as a leader, now let's become personal, okay? Let's become personal. Now as a leader, what is it that you need to change? Where do you start? Because it needs to start with you, right? And then what is it that you need to change as a leader, right? Ken Blanchard and Phil Hodges you got to change your heart. There has to be a reason as to why leaders lead. Then the head, what do leaders think, right? And of course the hands, what do leaders do? And then finally the habits. What are some of the things, or what are our habits that make us stay on track? So that is really the 4 areas of personal change that you need to go through as leaders, and we will briefly look at these 4 changes quickly. That dynamics of change, we've seen the need for change. We have seen the 4 areas that you got to change yourself as a person: heart, head, hands, and habits, right? So I encourage you to go and be the change, and thereby take your organization through the digital transformation in a successful manner. All the best.